Welcome back to Just Chattin. This is the series of videos we do on Thursday and Sunday evenings just for our own entertainment. So, last Thursday when I was uploading Thursday's video, our friend Nutmeg put on what I can only describe as a horror show. So I wasn't able to comment on it because, of course, it happened after my video went up. So I thought we would take a look at it on Sunday, tonight. And I'm going to tell you what I think and why I think this was a genuine horror show. So when we come back, So, last Thursday, Uvalde, Texas, Robb Elementary School, 19 children and 2 teachers slaughtered. There aren't even words to express the horror that I feel, that I know everyone feels over a situation like this. Dead babies. How does it get any worse than that? Well, unfortunately, it does get worse than that when opportunists descend on that community in order to exploit that tragedy for their own personal benefit. And that is, in fact, what Nutmeg did. Now, because we've had a few days to sort of let things sift out, we've had a chance to see exactly how she packaged this little adventure when she presented it to the locals. I am linking a story in the video notes. As usual, I link my sources. It would seem that she went to the blood center. Oh, I'm sorry, sent someone on her staff ahead before she went to the blood center, informing them that she would be showing up just to help. She didn't want any press involvement, no, just there to help. This isn't a photo op. By the way, they interviewed the director of the blood center, who kept insisting it wasn't a photo op. It's like, what? Didn't want press involvement? Lady, you are giving an interview to the press about this event, and there are photos. How can you possibly say no press, no photos? It's like, whoa. I take it that woman really doesn't know the meaning of the word irony. Yeah, that's how Nutmeg packaged it. She went off to a grocery store and bought a few trays of sandwiches and snacks, which got her foot in the door. I wonder if that set her back $200 or $300. Maybe it did. Would have been Archewell's money anyway, and I think it's a safe bet that Archewell also pays the expenses for this photo op, and make no mistake, that's what it was. And then, after showing up and passing out sandwiches, allegedly incognito, but, clearly, well, she thinks she was incognito, yeah, right. Hiding from the press. It's just, the mind boggles when you read some of this stuff. How gullible does anyone have to be to believe that this wasn't a photo op? Oh, she's just here to help. Really? Then where did the photos come from? She didn't want any press. Then why are you giving interviews? It's like, lady, wake up and smell the coffee. This was a photo op, and you got played. Sorry, darling, that's what happened. Now, here's the thing. I was floored Thursday evening. In fact, I had to stop answering comments from viewers, which is something that I will do until the late hours of the night. But I had to stop because I was simply so angry that I was afraid I was going to write something. And keep in mind, you write it, you publish it, it's there. You can delete it 30 seconds later, it's still out there. I was quite certain I was going to start writing comments that I would later regret. I was simply too angry to trust myself making public responses. Too angry. You see, Nutmeg has done this repeatedly. She has exploited other people's losses. Not just losses. She exploits other people's misfortunes, no matter what that misfortune is. Let's go back to Remembrance Day in 2020, when Nutmeg and the Ginger Sock Puppet closed off a California cemetery so they could have a photo op. They brought a photographer with them so they could be photographed standing on the graves of World War II veterans. Well, for my generation, World War II veterans represent the generation of our parents. These were people we knew. They were loved ones. My father served in that war, and he had comrades, not just in the American armed forces, but in British armed forces, in Canadian armed forces, not Australia and New Zealand, I'll get to that in a minute, who died in that war. They did not come home. The Australians and the New Zealanders, according to my father, they all survived because the devil wouldn't have them. He meant it with love, just let me say that, because they were good friends. But his Australian and New Zealand comrades all made it home, fortunately. His American comrades, his British comrades, his Canadian comrades, his Scottish comrades. And being a Hamilton, he usually did very well with them. Many of them did not come home. That is a loss that my generation can relate to in a personal way. Nutmeg and Ginger, no, it's the graves were nothing but props for the photographs. That was incredibly insensitive. It was hurtful because this is a generation that I knew because of my age. Most people my age did know many, many people who served. No, it was disrespectful. It shouldn't have happened. They did not care. Then we go into lockdown, and Nutmeg and the Ginger Sock Puppet are out delivering meals to the shut-ins. Again, photo op. They made sure they were photographed doing this, and they did it for half an afternoon. It's not even as if these are things they do. They never went back to that LA cemetery after the first photo op. I mean, why not? They got their mileage out of that. Did they go back and deliver food to the shut-ins after that first photo op? No, they did not. Photo ops, that is one of the defining characteristics of a photo op. When it's one and done, you show up for the purpose of getting your picture taken, and we know you do this because you never go back. Same thing with delivering the meals. And then later that year, they went off to a nursery school. And this was at a time when the parents of these nursery children could not enter the school. They were forbidden from entering the school because of lockdown. But somehow, Nutmeg and the Ginger Sock Puppet got in there, and they got to play around in the dirt with the kids, having very close contact, frankly, at a time when nobody had enough of an understanding of the pandemic to even know if this was safe. Did they care? Absolutely not. Have they been back? No. Again, photo op, one and done. That's key. And then later, they take a road trip to New York to exploit more other people's children. In this case, a low-income inner-city school where Nutmeg forced the children to listen to her read that book of hers. And I have read the book. Where is it? Here we go. I have read it. See the things I do for you. Yes, I even bought it. I paid money for it. But don't worry, I bought it on eBay, so my money went to the seller of the book, not to the publisher, not to Nutmeg. All right, just so you know. But yeah, she inflicted this travesty on children who were far too old for it. Well, I mean, frankly, if you want to look at the intellectual level necessary to appreciate this book, I don't know what to tell you, because my cat left the room after 3 lines. He was bored to tears. I couldn't even make him look at the pictures. That shows you the attention level. Maybe if I put a pet rock in front of me when I read the book, I'd do better. Nope, all about this. And they brought 2 boxes of vegetables to that New York school. And Procter & Gamble gave a washer and dryer, which was very good of them. But 2 boxes of vegetables. Wow, how generous, especially considering the fact that the pinky ring Nutmeg wears on her little finger is probably worth more than most of those children's entire family's income for a year. So she goes into a very low income neighborhood, dripping in designer clothes and jewels. White man's burden, oh my. We used to call that slumming. And it's exactly what it sounds like. That was what it meant when we said that. I don't think we use that term anymore, but it was a term that was used when I was younger. You know, when privileged people go in to experience reality in the low-income neighborhoods. Oh, please. It was disgusting back in the 60s when people were doing that as part of their social commentary. It's no better today. And after we have the exploited children of New York, now we have the exploited children of Texas. And they're dead. And if nothing else, that should be respected. And it's not as if Nutmeg and the Ginger Sock Puppet collectively do not know this. Now, I understand the Ginger Sock Puppet was not there, but surely his wife must have heard him the many, many, many times he has said that he resented people going into mourning when his mother died. You never even met her. She was my mom. His attitude was, how dare you appropriate my loss, my tragedy. Well, in his case, he was wrong, because Diana was a public figure, and she was a public figure with special importance to the British people, and she said herself that what she wanted was to be the queen of people's hearts. This was her wish, openly stated. So, would she want them to mourn her loss? Of course. So he was wrong. He was dead wrong when he did that. But these children are not public figures. Their families are not public figures. And if it was wrong of the British people to mourn the passing of his dead mother because they had no connection with her, they never even met her, why is it right for his wife to hop on a plane, swoop in like some sort of carpetbagger from the 1870s, drop in on a town in Texas that I'm sure she never heard of before, had no connection with, and exploit their tragedy, appropriate their grief for her own personal benefit? Because that's what this is. It was photo ops. And if it's not okay with the ginger sock puppet that people who had a legitimate right to grieve Diana's passing would express themselves, why is it okay that Nutmeg, who has nothing whatsoever to do with Texas in general, certainly nothing whatsoever to do with the Hispanic community, and many of these children were Latino. But that's fine. Let's just go in, intrude on people's grieving, and co-opt it for a photo op. I'm going to be honest with you because usually I choose my words carefully. I guess I'm going to choose my words carefully. I'm just not going to censor quite as much as I would ordinarily. This is a monstrous thing to do. This is beyond monstrous. The families were no doubt still in shock. And they're going to have to get up every morning for the rest of their lives and face the world without their babies. And anyone exploiting that and turning that into a photo op, well, there's a special place in hell for them. I'm seriously, special place in hell. This is an evil action. That anyone could be so vicious and so callous. Now, of course, let's go back to the fact that she said she was there to help. She went to the local grocery store and she bought a few trays of snacks and sandwiches and had it delivered to the blood center. Remember that pinky ring of hers? You know what? If she had taken that or its cash equivalent and actually done something good with that money, there are a lot of families that are going to have to face funeral expenses that God knows they weren't expecting. How about picking up the dime for that? You got the money, Nutmeg. You want to help? That's help. Sandwiches? Really? For a multimillionaire, that's the best you can do. Please. It's an insult. It's an absurdity. It is paying whatever minimum price for entry you can get away with. I want to go in and get my picture taken with these people, so I'm going to bring some sandwiches. It's awful. It's unspeakable. Of course, my fear is that this is eventually going to show up on Netflix. And, oh, and by the way, if it does, and I will not watch it because I do not watch whatever this woman does, her sock puppet husband, I don't. There's nothing they could do that I would consider even remotely entertaining. Well, all right, there are a few things, but I'm too polite to mention it on the air. The fact is, I'm not going to watch whatever docudrama this shows up on. If it does show up, though, I will be made aware of it because other YouTubers will email me when they're doing videos on it. You can be sure of that. And I will write Netflix a letter. I should probably start drafting the letter now because it'll take me a while to scratch out all the 4-letter words. Because believe me, if this gets aired, I'm going to be furious. This is not okay. This is the worst thing that could possibly happen to families. And to capitalize on that is subhuman. It's just, I do have words. I do not have words that don't have 4 letters that are sufficient to explain my contempt and disgust for this stunt. To say that it's in poor taste is just, it doesn't even come close. But let's take a look at this in another context. This woman who had no trouble exploiting the little children in that Los Angeles nursery, the ones whose parents couldn't even get in to see them, exploited them for photo ops, goes over to New York, exploits those children for photo ops, exploits these children, these dead children, for photo ops. This is the same person who sued photographers for violating the privacy of the doll she was pretending was her child. God, you can't make this stuff up, can you? They are so obsessed with the privacy of their own children that you can't even, gosh, you take a picture of them, you're going to go to court. Yet they will gleefully exploit other people's children. And for what? For gain. An argument could be made that because Harry is a member of the British royal family and because his children have a position in the line of succession, and I should say, when I say position, I'm usually referring to single digits. Single digits in the line of succession. An argument could be made that at least the British people have some right to exposure to these children. Really, they will sue if, God forbid, you take a picture of their kids. And we know this because she did sue when they took a picture of her freaking doll. Again, you can't make this stuff up. One set of rules for them, another set of rules for us. It is utterly horrific. Absolutely. I do not, for the life of me, understand why the media, the mainstream media, is not challenging this. Why people are not looking at this saying, what is her connection to Texas? What is her connection to these families, these children? She just goes in and gets her picture taken, kneeling at a memorial marker, laying flowers. No one is willing to call this out for the exploitation that it clearly is. Anyone can see this. So I'm very disgusted with the media because, frankly, this shouldn't be allowed to pass without comment, and it is. So that's what I have for you today. I'm going to have to sort of walk away from this now because, unfortunately, dead babies, boy, that is hard for all of us. They're not even our babies. We don't even know those babies. It's hard for all of us. It's horrific for the people who were involved. So all I can say is we as a YouTube community want to express our deepest sympathies for everyone impacted by that unfortunate tragedy. These things shouldn't happen. It's all that can be said about it. We are making our contribution for this month to Pillars in New Zealand. Now, that's our charitable contribution. This comes from funds that the channel gets through ad revenues, and we give $100 of it away every month to a deserving charity. Pillars in New Zealand provides services for the children of incarcerated people. And this is a very vulnerable, very needy community. So I thought this would be a good choice. It's a well-respected charity, and it's certainly a cause that we can all find worthwhile. So that's what we're doing for this month. I thought we would get a jump on our contribution for July. So I'm going to take a look and see if there is some charitable concern that will be taking donations to help the Uvalde families with the funeral expenses. I'm very specific about that, funeral expenses. Heaven knows the families are going to have many, many more needs than that, but if that burden can be lifted, that would be great. So I'm just calling an audible, and I'm going to make our July contribution this week as well, specifically to help those poor people bury their babies. God, I cannot imagine a more horrifying thing to have to do. All right. So, I thought since we spoke briefly about Princess Diana, that we would take a look at a Diana slideshow on our way out, because I'm sure we all need to get our heads in a better place. So, that's what I have for you today. Have a terrific day. I will see all of you next time. And in the meantime, take care, stay safe, and let's just keep the people of Uvalde in our thoughts and prayers. See you later.